Let's go. Alright, so I think it's time to come out of hiding and talk a bit about what's going on. I've been busy lately. I've been, next week's the bar exam, next Tuesday and Wednesday, so I've been hardcore studying. I really wanted to make a video on this the second it happened, but I figured, hey, I should probably stop, do some research before making weird titles and stuff like that, because if you guys haven't really followed the forums too closely, or maybe even other channels out there, this is important, and every single one of you should be well aware, because this is a pretty significant thing that happened. Our senior producer, CG Carey, basically the talking piece for Galaxy of Heroes, the one that is the main brain trying to push the game forward into the future, the one that said there's a 5-year plan, and apparently they weren't a part of it. They just up and disappeared. The senior producer just up and disappeared. They didn't even write their own farewell post, and I took some time to do a little bit of research before coming to some crazy conclusions. And we're not going to come to really any major conclusion because, to be honest, I don't have all the facts. I don't want to speak directly towards a person's character and make assumptions as to why they were left. There's a lot of stuff out there. I personally never knew CG Carey too well. Most of my interactions with her were not the best. If you guys saw the Game Changer program ending video, you would have gotten a tiny little taste as to why that may be the case. So we're not going to talk too much and make some saying that she's fired stuff like that, because I don't think she was actually fired, to be honest. And I'm going to show you a few things, and then after this, we're going to talk straight to the new senior producer. They're not on the channel today, but you're out there somewhere. You're going to be getting this position soon. And I want to give you a couple things to keep in mind when you're trying to take this game forward, because each and every one of us loves this game. June 26th, she says she's on her day 5 of her sabbatical, which is basically paid time off away from work. So since June 21st, she all of a sudden took a break from Galaxy of Heroes. And this is kind of important because this is a few days right before Genos' territory battles and the release of Grand Arena Championships. Two of their bigger game modes this year, and the senior producer just decides to up and leave and go on a vacation since June 21st. Seems a bit suspicious. And then finally, we got the post on July 22nd on the forums, and July 22nd as well. Carey didn't make any sort of farewell post on the forums, but she took it to Twitter to kind of say, thank you for the 13 years. I've worked at EA. It's been a privilege of the lifetime. I missed a lot of you. I'll not be. And she's saying that basically her next position she's going to be looking towards isn't going to be as community facing. And here's the thing. Again, I don't know too much about Carey. I've had very little experience with her. She mainly had her crew, I guess, reach out to me, and most of my experiences with Carey were not the most positive. But there was one thing I knew: she was passionate about this game, and she wanted this game to be successful. How she went about it, maybe not the best way. And being a community or being the senior producer, it takes a certain character, takes a certain personality, and maybe she didn't quite have the personality or have the ideals to carry out this position. And I do not think she was fired. The timeline seems to coincide with this perfectly. I found this, and the funny thing is, it says right here that the position is no longer open. This was open 2-3 days ago when I was doing some research. This senior product manager, which I believe is another way of saying senior producer, this position was open for application still. And I think just as of yesterday, or maybe the day after I found this, the position all of a sudden closed. And look when it was open. This position was open on 5/1, 2019. Obviously, there was some indication internally that they were going to need a new senior product manager, whether they decided it's time to let Carey go, or maybe Carey herself, when just because of maybe she just doesn't have the personality to deal with the overwhelming different interests in Galaxy Heroes. You got the whales, you got the free-to-play people, you got the Krakens, and there's also a lot of toxic people too. And maybe she just didn't have the character or the personality to kind of deal with that, because it does take a lot. It's a big toll on a person or maybe she potentially just didn't like the decisions that EA was forcing Capital Games to make, because keep in mind, this game is almost a 4-year mobile game. And whatever your thoughts are, the very minimum we can say is that the game is shrinking. It is not growing anymore. We see revenue declining over time, the amount of new people joining over time. We don't have data as to how many people are leaving, but for sure as heck, this game is not growing as much as it used to be. So maybe Carey just didn't like the decision that she was forced to make and put onto this game. All this weird monetizing stuff we've been seeing lately, we're going to talk about that soon as to how to improve the game. But maybe she just figured it's time. I don't see this game going anywhere else. And I know personally some people at EA, they were able to take their paid time off, look for a new job. So when their current job ended at EA, they can just go quickly and hop over to the next job. So it's very well possible she took her 1 month break. She went to Hawaii. It looks like she was still in Hawaii why when she finally broke the news on Twitter, and then the forum post broke the news. So I'm not going to say that she was fired, or maybe she just left on her own terms. I'm just trying to present to you a couple theories and these facts right here. And I think personally, I just think she just, for some reason, thought her time was over, and it looks like she kind of left on her own accord. Maybe she just didn't like the job, whatever the case may be. She moved on, best to her. But I want to talk about the future of Galaxy of Heroes, because that is my main concern. Whatever happened to the senior producer, that doesn't really affect the future of the game too much. I think the game is still going to go forward if the right senior producer is brought in and takes advantage of the Star Wars franchise. I mean, I'm going to say, I think I said it before, I think EA getting this really important license from Star Wars to make games, I think that was not a good decision, because there's not a lot of competition or a lot of great ideas being put forth. Battlefront 2, we know how that panned out. The game is getting better, but it's lacking a lot of content. I don't know if they have the right team supporting them. Galaxy of Heroes, one of the best mobile games out there. It obviously still makes a lot of money for EA, even though revenue's slowly dipping down over time. I don't understand why they aren't taking more advantage of this game, and it just feels like right now, Capital Games or EA, whatever the case may be, is just squeezing whatever audience is left of Galaxy of Heroes and just coming in to milk the whales, give us repetitive content that's not really anything new, and just moving on. Dear Mr. or Mrs. Senior Producer, listen to what I have to say in these next few minutes here, and also check the comments down below, because we all want this game to survive and thrive. We need real new content. I'm talking real new content. Let's be honest here. The past quarter, what really happened? What really happened in terms of new content? Grand Arena Championships, yeah, it's a cool thing, but really, what's the difference with it? It's literally Grand Arena that we had already for several months, but now with the global leaderboard. There hasn't been anything too new about this game mode. The game mode is pretty much the same thing, but now you just got this global leaderboard and a little bit of rewards. The rewards aren't even that enticing at the moment. Of course, they can improve that in the future. I've had fun of Grand Arena, but really, saying that Grand Arena Championships is your new thing you're going to enjoy, it's the same thing. And then, of course, we got our Geonosis territory battles, but come on, is that really new content? Is that really new content? We had Hoth territory battles. It took months and months and months to finally get something new, and it's just territory battles reskinned with Clone Wars era content, which, don't get me wrong, I love the artwork and stuff like that, but really it's not a fundamentally new game mode. And also the rewards are kind of questionable towards the end, even when you do complete it. It's Geonosis territory battle should have happened 3 to 6 months after Hoth territory battles happened. Waiting 2 years for another territory battles to come around, I don't know what's going on there. That's not real new content. And then we have the raids. Of course, the Sith Trumpet raid is still pretty relevant, but the Rancor raid, you guys put it on Sim now, so a lot of people don't even play the Rancor raid. There should be another layer to the Rancor raid, keeping old content fresh and updated. Of course, new players, different story, but at this end game stage, there's not too much to do. You hop in, you click Sim, and you maybe auto the raids, or you maybe don't do anything. You just make sure you join, get your rewards, and then you leave. This Gear 13 thing, it's a cheap way, not cheap in terms of how much it costs, but a cheap way of creating new content. It's kind of like, all right, it's time to milk the whale somehow. We're gonna up the gear level, because really, you're just trying to keep your investment in these characters relevant. And that's the problem I have with gear, is that it's a quick and cheap way for them to get people to spend a lot of money, and people have been spending a lot of money. I mean, just for me, I made a couple videos on Gear 13 and some of these Gear 13 characters, and it cost me at least, what, $300, $400 maybe? And luckily, I make that money back on videos, but the average person doesn't. I mean, if you spend the money to Gear 13 and you enjoy it, so be it. But in terms of, is it healthy for the game to just go in one day and say, hey, we're going to bring Gear 13, give us your money or your characters become irrelevant? That's not a good way of creating new content. I want to pay you for new, fresh, and cool content. I don't want to pay you to keep my current characters I already spent money in for some of these guys just to keep them relevant, because if I don't, the characters are going to fall out of favor and not be as good at Gear 12 or whatever, going up against all these Gear 13 characters. That is not new content. And speaking of new content, let's talk, I guess, more specifically. The second point I have is that there has to be something to do. A lot of the times, and we've heard this complaint a lot lately, you come in, there's nothing to do, we're kind of waiting for Grand Arena to come around, but there's nothing to do really on a day day-to-day basis. And I know some people hate, they get triggered when you say Marvel Strike Force. The cool thing about Marvel Strike Force, at least, is that they have this Blitz mode, and it satisfies two things. One, I consider Blitz mode in Marvel Strike Force to be kind of like a sandbox mode, where it doesn't really cost you much to do to test random teams out, and you go up against a variety of good teams out there, so you can kind of get a feel for how good your theory crafted team, or your whatever team you're testing out, how good they are. They have this Blitz game mode. You don't need to really participate in it, but if you do, there's rewards attached to it, and it encourages you to kind of build up your roster, test things out more. So it satisfies having a lot of frequent content on a day-to-day basis, and you can play to your heart's content. It's something you can play over and over and over again, constantly testing out new things. And also, there's some sort of rewards attached. So there is a bit of incentive. If you want to spend the time, the more time you spend in the game, the more you can potentially get out of it. Third point I want to bring out here. Don't forget the free-to-play. Again, I don't know if this was Carrie's policy or EA's policy. Whatever the case may be, we're not going to point too many fingers here. Let's just say EA, because at the end of the day, it's their game. They're just having Capital Games run it for them. The free-to-play are being slowly forgotten in this game. And I'm not even going to talk about Legendary and Journey content, because, yeah, a lot of that stuff is going to be more for people that either spent money, but by the second time the event comes around, such as Jedi Knight Revan or Darth Revan, you can get the characters free to play. So I'm not even going to say just go in there and always make Journey and Legendaries free to play accessible day one. I'm not going to say that, but at the minimum, whatever happened, I mean, thank goodness for Genos and Brood Alpha for being kind of free-to-play accessible day one, but whatever happened to those good old days where you guys would just say, hey, we made this character, it's free-to-play, go ahead and farm it. This character, TIE Fighter Pilot, was amazing. He was meta at one point, and he was absolutely free-to-play. I don't even think there was, like, any true packs even tied to this character back then. And then we had other random things like, yeah, Magma Trooper, maybe not the best character in the world. In my heart, he will always be #1. But it was a free-to-play character. Just making characters simply for the free-to-play. We're not saying every single one, but once in a while, go ahead and just say, hey, we thought this character was kind of cool. Check it out. A new character is a new character, and almost every character, at least for Grand Arena, you can find some sort of purpose for. Heck, I made Clone Wars Chewbacca viable. And even in the situation where you guys want to bring out a marquee character, let's say, for example, Shakti. Shakti is a character that was pay to play right away. That's fine. Create your pay to play characters. We aren't saying to do so. I'm not even going to talk about the pricing. $300 plus, in my opinion, is kind of expensive for a character. I'm not even going to complain about that. I'm just saying sometimes when you're going to bring these characters in for the first time, after they bring out the pay to play side, once it's time to release these characters free to play, toss them in other locations. One of the policies in the game right now is that there seems to be zero intent of adding characters inside of Squad Arena or the Galactic Store or the Cantina Store. They basically said, no, we are done. We want this to be, at least for the minimum for endgame players, to be Shard Shop currency, which I get. But we need to one thing I love about a lot of other games is that they don't forget these shipments. They go in there and they find homes. And not every single character, again, has to go straight to Squad Arena or to the Galactic War Store. But once in a while, throw free-to-play players a bone, because it feels good knowing that there's this cool new character that's not going to take you 3 to 6 months to farm after it comes from pay to play into free to play. Number 4 on the list, this is kind of beating a dead horse right now. I mean, for a long time, ships. We all know you guys kind of talked a lot about ships in a post not too long ago, and really the one thing you guys said is that you guys are going to be more dedicated to it. But really, how are you guys being dedicated to it when you're saying, all right, we're bringing the negotiator, which it's going to take at least even top end guilds probably another month or 2 to even unlock the ships. That is your solution for ships? There needs to be more ships in this game. Way more ships, way more capital ships, and ships that aren't tied solely to this currency over here, which is tied to a very high tenacity, repetitive content. It's just hot territory battles reskinned. So much potential for raid opportunities, for Fleet Arena to be diverse. We're hoping the negotiator will do it. We have speculation as to General Grievous coming in, but who knows? What if they throw General Grievous again in the guild event store? So you got to wait another several months to get that ship. We need some ship stuff right now. Literally update the game, throw in a bunch of ships, for pay to play, throwing some ships for free to play farming, just throwing like 20 ships in an update, capital ships and other normal ships as well, to get this game mode flowing. And this is going to transition into kind of my last point. Get a bigger team and communication. I guess those are 2 points. You guys are getting 6 points for today. I have some reason to believe that Capital Games might not be as staffed as they should. Talking to some people over the course of me interacting with Capital Games for several years, it seems to be that a lot of these people, if one person's, let's say you got a couple people working on a raid, there's a chance they might have to get pulled off the raid and work on different content. No, leave those people. Let them do their raids. Let these people do their ships. Let these people do their characters. Let these people find out other PvP content and other PvE content. Again, that could be a EA thing. Maybe they look at, everything's money at the end of the day. Maybe they're seeing Star Wars Galaxy Heroes and they're like, huh, this game's not growing anymore. Let's pull out resources, start putting it towards other resources. Command and Conquer Rivals was EA's next thing they were hoping would get big. Didn't take off, it seemed. But guys, EA, Capital Games, the future senior producer, tell EA that this is one of their best mobile games. Give you the appropriate staff so you don't have to keep pulling people away from certain positions to work on certain content, because there's no excuse why we have to wait 2 years for another territory battles that is reskinned with 1,000% tenacity. That is not the content we need, and having a bigger staff could address a lot of these issues we've already mentioned earlier. You can create more characters potentially, and you don't care as much about giving some away free to play immediately day one. All right, and the last thing I kind of want to talk about here is communication. We have a community manager, and I'm not gonna say anything bad about SB Crumb. Awesome guy, I've met him personally. This might be tied into one of my earlier points about maybe they just don't have the staff and they're pulling resources from different departments to help out, because really we see SB Crumb once in a while when an update comes out, and other than that, he brings out those puzzles we see. But a community manager, they're one of their biggest jobs, at least from my view, is that they have to interact with the community more. There has to be a lot more communication going on. We go sometimes weeks upon weeks without really hearing anything except, hey, there's an update. One thing I want to bring back, this could be way back when I've been playing Galaxy Heroes for a very long time, and one of my favorite things, EA Jesse, my man EA Jesse, I know him personally, I still talk to him once in a while. I believe he's still at, he works at Anthem, and he worked on a bunch of other stuff in between before getting to Anthem for EA. He's all over EA, he's a big guy at EA, and with Galaxy of Heroes, there was a period of time where when EA Jesse was kind of the community manager, we would have just these weekly posts. What happened this week? What were you guys doing at the studio? Just tell us. We want to know. We want to be excited for what you guys are working on. We just want to know that you guys are, that you guys have been chugging along that particular content. Maybe what's the status of the territory battles? We kind of like waited. Oh, territory battles is here. Why not give us some little updates? Here's some questions that they go around. Jesse would find some big questions of the week. When are you gonna fix Tebow? Are there any additional changes to be made to mods? Even if you can't give a direct answer or something specific, just saying that you see these questions that the community is talking about, I think it's something just important. Just knowing that we're being heard, that the community is being heard, that you guys are working on stuff. I mean, we can assume you guys are working, but it'd be nice to see in general what questions do you guys see pop up in the community and what's being worked out right now. We have brand new content and events coming this month that we'll share more details on in the coming weeks. We'll also continue to roll out updates, blah, 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 blah. Nothing that specific, but heck, it's community interaction right here. Really, I mean, there's a lot more things we could point out, but those are some major things. Communication, a lot more content going on. Get a bigger team. I think those are kind of three big things that should be on a senior producer's mind. I can go on and on and on. Meta diversity. Don't create forced metas and let it stay stagnant for 3 to 6 months. There has to be a bit more diversity flowing through the game. Let a top tier team be kind of beaten by another team and have 3 teams be the meta rather than just one solid one. The list can go on and on and on. Have the senior producer appreciate jokes and appreciate memes, and don't send out threatening emails claiming you guys have contracts when you don't. We can go on, people. We can go on. At the end of the day, I love this game. I started playing this game back in late 2015, December 2015. And the reason why I started playing was because I couldn't sleep for several nights. My uncle just died, and I remember just, I'd lay in bed, not being able to sleep. And one day I decided to go into App Store, and I saw this Star Wars game, and I'm like, I love Star Wars. Let me check out this game. It seems to be a new trending game. And ever since then, I've been playing every single day. I've met so many great people. This is seriously an amazing game. You got an amazing franchise. Do something with it. Don't squander it away. So whoever is going to get this position in the future, I wish you the best of luck. It's not going to be super easy. You have to tailor to EA, to your employees, to the free-to-plays, to the whales. There are a lot of different conflicting interests, but I think whoever's going to be coming in, they're hopefully going to have a fresh mind, and their number one job is not solely going to be to monetize whatever is left out of this lovely mobile game that we've seen for the past couple of years. Like the video if you did enjoy it, comment down below on all your thoughts, and be sure to subscribe so you're not missing a thing. We got some cool stuff hopefully happening next week on this channel at least. I'll let you guys know more about that soon after the bar exam, and I'll talk to you lovely people later.
Chill out.
Great house.
Party Richter, Party Richter. Get down, 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 down. Party Richter, Party Richter. Son of a bitch. Party Richter, Party Richter. Get down, down, down.